I'd had some oil leaking down the spark plug hole. I did show in another video how I did seal, because I don't want to remove the gasket, replace the gasket. But you also may want to disassembly and clean the ignition coil, and my warm advice is detach it from there. You will see in a moment why. Depends on the way it's clipped in there. These are very tricky to remove. You need to check videos on YouTube. I do have one, by the way, for the red clip one. So why? Because inside you have this tiny fuse and even a spring, and if you detach it, if you disassemble it when it's here, it's almost guaranteed you are going to drop this fuse down, maybe even worse, inside the hole. So at least if you try to do it on the engine, block the hole with a piece of paper and just put a big plastic to capture this. You don't want that fuse inside your hole. You may fish it maybe with a wire and a strong magnet at the other end of the wire. But so anyway, this is how it looks inside. This is a Denso. I'm not sure if you can read. It's a Hyundai car. It's made by Denso. It says somewhere, I cannot. Yeah. So this is the tip rubber piece. It's the easier to detach, and you want to perhaps disassemble this when it's still a little warm, not hot, but a little warm, because cold the rubber is too stiff, and especially this part you may not be able to detach it. So this is the tip rubber. It's easier to detach. You want to clean this of any kind of oil. This is a plastic tube, and it has this spring, and I suggest, I think, let me look past the, yeah, it seems it can be reversed. It's up to you to try. So this spring sits inside, and then at the tip of the spring here, when you are going to look inside, you will see the tip of this fuse, and this fuse, nothing is attaching it inside. The moment you will incline it, it's going to drop from there. So you want to clean this fuse, and then at the tip here, at the inside, it appears is the actual metal part. Hopefully there's no other fuses in there. And you want to clean all this. My advice is get a good piece of paper, but not one that detaches in bits, like something quality. Dip it in isopropyl alcohol. I don't recommend spraying anything inside, because it may get inside, trap inside that spray, whatever you use, and it may not evaporate from there. And this is high current inside. Actually, I think it's high voltage, not high current. I'm not sure about it. Perhaps high voltage. So the J Blues attack. I don't like those parts because they have a terrible screech. Anyway, so you want to clean that any surface that you see in there, and just wipe off. That's not the worst scream. There's one that's really audible. Okay, so you want to wipe off any alcohol in and out with isopropyl oil in and out. And then the same for these bits, from this part. Try to wipe off the fuse, and careful not to drop it. I don't know if you can replace it, if there's a replacement, if you lose it. Now this piece, look how it sits in there. Notice there is, at least on this ignition coil, it appears to have a thinner end here which goes on there, and a thicker which goes on there. Between these two one, it's easier to detach. Between these two one, it was difficult to detach, but because this is kind of a smaller size, but also it's cold, so maybe on warm engine is going to be easier. Just careful with your hand, don't burn your hand. So also this appears, hopefully I'm right, to be inserted this way, right, like this much and this much. So just make sure you insert it properly. And yes, if you look at the one that's fully attached, those are the tips. So it kind of sits like this. Careful when you put the spring back inside, it goes only on one side like this. It has to go all inside this piece, for instance. So the spring looks alike, you can swap it, but if you try to put it from the other side of this piece, it doesn't go furthermore. So this is the wrong position. If you try to install it, you will understand why. This is the correct position. Again, it doesn't matter which way you go, but it has to go from, you insert it from the smaller end, This is the thicker end, this is the smaller end. So you insert it from this end. This is basically the end that goes here, and this is the end that goes there. So you insert it, it goes on this unit about the same kind of fully inside, and then with the smaller end, when you insert it, I already put the fuse back in there. It's dropped in there. Careful when you drop it right. Yeah, align it fully so it drops fully inside the hole. Just pay attention. So now I'm going to put the smaller end with the spring, and my suggestion is just drop the spring in there and match it. Make sure it does touch the fuse. Put it like this, maybe it's easier. Again, smaller end. Just try to align this on the paper so you see it better. Smaller end. Whoops, trying to look past the camera. It drops in there, and then you insert it fully. Just press down on it with some strength until it reaches this line here. Make sure it's fully engaged, and see how the spring comes from the other end. A little bit. If you try to insert it from this end here, it is going to stay long out, and that's not going to work in any way. So it has to be inserted from this end here. And now that's in there, I'm going to get this rubber piece. I'm working one hand. Now if you try to pull the spring, it's not going to pull from there. It's stuck, and it has to be stuck like this. It's locked in place because it has to make proper contact with the fuse. And actually I believe the spring, it's now compressed a little bit, so it's pushing into the fuse is pushing into the inner contact. All it's pushed with some strength, not a lot, but some strength, because it has to make full contact. That's obvious. So let's try to put it from the side so you see. One hand operation. Okay, stop. Push downwards gently, and make sure it's fully inserted. Just kind of crush it all around. This is less important, this part here. This one is very important to be fit in there, pushed all the way in. That's what pushes this is what creates the pressure on the tension, actually yes, pressure on the spring, right? So this one is very important to be fully pressed in all the way, although it looks like there is a tiny gap, but I did push it all the way in. It doesn't break anything if you force a bit of it on it, just to make sure. The tip one, it's also okay. I mean, trucks passing. Just press it down so it kind of, you know, it matches this. This one is less important. It's really the bottom rubber piece that's important. All right, so this is rubber, this is rubber, this is plastic, hard plastic in between. Again, coil, fuse, spring inside the plastic, hard plastic piece, rubber, all put together. And it's good to go back inside the car. When this fail, actually, one of the most often times is because the spark plug is worn, or maybe has deposits on it, or maybe it's the wrong spark plug that doesn't remove the heat from the engine correctly. There are several lengths of spark plugs. Be careful with this, depends on your car. Another reason they fail, obviously age, but also especially engine covers. That's why I don't put my engine cover on. Engine covers keep the heat increase. If you want the heat on these units, yes, they are designed for high heat, but if you increase the heat with engine covers in, and sometimes the engine may get overly hot for some reason, who knows, maybe it's I don't know, for whatever reason the top on the engine may get overly hot, this heat up and they may fail. So on cars it depends. I remember on Volvo, on both perhaps both European and Asian cars, you may want to replace them one at a time, because they may be very expensive, even if you get if you don't get them directly from the dealership. You also really be careful, get only genuine ones, genuine, or the part maker that's making for the genuine. Don't get cheapo, Chinese cheapo, bad news. So yes, you may want to replace one at a time and keep one in hand just for the next time it happens. And it's not a bad idea to have your tools to replace it if you are on the road, so you don't drive your car when these fail. And one last tip, which I show in my video, I have a video showing how to detect which one is the faulty one. Just watch that video without swapping. I don't like the swapping part. But the one thing that I wanted to say there is, yes, have the tools to replace them. Don't drive if you have a misfire. Ideally, if you have a misfire, you want to disconnect the injector for that cylinder, so you don't spray gasoline that's not burned inside the cylinder that doesn't fire up. Usually the computer will also stop those injectors if it detects a misfire, but just to be safe, it's better to disconnect the injector for that cylinder. However, on modern cars, the injector are completely buried, is no longer accessible. That's how it goes. Don't drive if you have a misfire. A serious misfire can damage your catalytic converter, and even may just kind of cause some wear on cylinder one because of unburned gasoline that cuts the oil film on the cylinder wall.